It is Wednesday, my dudes, which means it's time for the First Thoughts Initial Impressions Epic 7 video. This will be the third and final video of my impressions of the Frieren Beyond Journeys and collab characters. I've already covered Frieren and Fern here on the channel, so if you missed those, feel free to check them out down in this video's description. But in this one, we're going to be talking about the boy himself, Stark. As always, I'll give you my 2 cents on the character. Do I think Stark's good? Where would I play him? What types of equipment sets and artifacts would I play him on? All that stuff you've come to expect from me in a First Thoughts and Initial Impressions video. So without any further ado, let's check out Stark's S3 animation.
よし、行こうぜ。土産話を持って帰らないとな。行くぞ。三点逆。戦いってのは最後まで立っていたやつが勝つんだぜ。
Once again, the animations of this collab are pretty much heavily inspired by the anime. They're almost one-to-one. A lot of Stark's animations are references to his battle with the Solar Dragon in episode 6 of the series. And as always, with my First Thoughts Initial Impressions videos, I like to give a shout to the voiceover artists that bring the games that I love to play to life. Stark in the Japanese dub of Frieren, as well as Epic 7, is voiced by Kobayashi Chiaki. You may recognize him as the voice of Mash from Mashal, as well as Gabimaru from Hell's Paradise. Moving on to Stark's stats, he is a Fire Warrior of the Capricorn Zodiac symbol, which means he shares a stat line with Ravi, Ken, Shu, Mediator Cleric, Dark Chorus, and of course, Disciplinary Prefect Arya. Taking a closer look at his stats, he has 966 attack, 657 defense, 7,323 health, 102 base speed, 15% critical hit chance, 150% critical hit damage, and no starting effectives or effect resistance. This translates to the highest health amongst all warriors in Epic 7 and the second highest HP total in the game, which makes a lot of sense. If it's perfectly for Stark, he is Frieren's frontliner, it makes sense that he would be incredibly tanky. Unfortunately, he has below average speed. Taking a look at his imprints, he has defense percentage for the team. Hey, it makes our team tankier, does exactly what a frontliner wants to do. And then he has critical hit chance as his self imprint, which is great for a bruiser style character like him as well. And since Stark is free to all players with the collab, everyone will get access to Triple S imprint. So hey, free Triple S imprint critical hit chance, can't say no to that. As always, before I give you my thoughts on Stark, let's go over his kit together one time so that way we're all on the same page. Starting with his skill 2 passive, Master's Lessons, obviously a reference to his time with Master Aizen. When an ally is attacked, Stark will gain 10 fighting spirit, and when his fighting spirit is full, he will activate Warrior Strike on the attacker. Warrior Strike consumes 100 fighting spirit to use. It attacks the enemy consecutively and increases the combat radius of Stark by 50% before resetting the cooldown of his skill 3 Lightning Strike. The damage dealt on Warrior Strike increases proportional to Stark's max health. Moving on to the skill 3, it is the aforementioned Lightning Strike. You gain 3 souls upon use, and it has a 4 to 5 turn cooldown depending on skill level. Attacks the enemy by slamming down with an axe. Penetrates the target's defense by 50%. Damage dealt increases proportional to Stark's max health. Damage dealt increases every time the skill is used, stacking up to 3 times. Soulburn effect for the cost of 10 souls increases the damage dealt. And finally, Stark's basic attack skill, Vanguard Strike. You gain 20 fighting spirit upon use. Attacks the enemy with an axe and inflicts provoke for 1 turn. Damage dealt increases proportional to Stark's max health. Now that you know the kit, let's talk about the character. Stark is a really easy character to understand, which is to be expected because he's the free unit for this collab. Historically, the free character that comes with a video game or anime collab usually isn't very good. They're mostly designed to help new players learn the ropes of the game and carry them early on before they just fall off and don't really do much of anything outside of maybe one PvE fight. Soul Bad Guy, for example, from Guilty Gear, was pretty good early on before he became relegated to just a golem farmer. Einzel Gon was amazing at mowing down enemies in the story mode before people realized he's completely worthless pretty much everywhere else in the game. But every once in a while, we get a good character, like Shuna, from that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Someone who can break through the mold and is actually usable in PvP. And while I don't think that Stark is basically as good as Shuna was, I do think he's a lot better than most of the other collab freebies we've gotten in the past. He actually has a really simple but still effective kit. Master's Lessons is at the heart of Stark's entire game plan, which is very fitting for a character who holds Aizen in such esteem. I love what they've done with the flavor for these characters from the show. Basically, whenever someone gets hit, he gains fighting spirit. When his fighting spirit is full, he's going to counterattack with his axe, provoke the target with his basic attack, diverting attention away from his party, and then gain a burst of combat race to help him get a turn. From there, your skill 3 should be reset, and you could just slam down your axe with Lightning Strike. Then he just goes back to sitting there, builds up his fighting spirit, soaks up damage for his team, and then he gets another counter eventually, which will reset his Lightning Strike, and he just does it over and over and over again. It's not flashy, and I also worry it's not strong enough for the state of modern Epic 7, but I can see it working for sure. People are already playing compositions around dodge characters like Setsuka and Assassin Kartua, and building Stark on something like Counterset on a team that's meant to just sit there and dodge and take tons of punishment, I think it suits him really well. With some effectiveness thrown in, he can sit there and just keep provoke locking opponents off of his counters and force them to come his way and get beat up, do more counters after that, provoke more people, loop it over and over and over again. In that sense, he feels a lot like Green Senna used to back in the day. Sometimes the opponent's composition just can't deal with a character that's just provoke locking them over and over. A lot of this, though, really hinges on how strong does Lightning Strike actually get when it's fully stacked. If you can start one-shotting characters at 3 stacks, then a tanky team involving Stark seems like it'd be a lot of fun and at least pretty decent in PvP. Where I think he really excels is against AoE teams, because they'll end up filling Stark's fighting spirit very fast. A simple AoE attack means he gains 40 fighting spirit every time, and if he gets a counter, then that is going to end up being 60 fighting spirit. That could translate to a lot of S2 counters and a lot of lightning strikes very, very quickly. Of course, though, Stark is not without his flaws. Counterattack reliance means characters like Mort and Lionheart Surmia absolutely destroy him. Him being reliant on a passive means New Moon, Luna, and the rest of the ceiling characters in the cast just walk all over him. And him being a Hellscaler means injury units just dunk him from orbit. But hey, what unit in Epic 7 doesn't have counters? I straight up think Stark looks like an absolute blast to play, especially if you're someone who enjoys those more slow and methodical games. Honestly, when you think about it, he actually goes pretty great with the repost set Frieren that I talked about in her impressions video. As for how I would build him, I think counter set feels like a must on him, since a successful counter translates to up to 60 fighting spirit on an attack, which is very nice if you just want to start slamming some axes. Since he gets a huge boost of combat readiness from his passive, speed doesn't really seem necessary on him. It might be alright, but not a mandatory thing. I think just having him built with counter set on immunity or health or penetration 2p sets and breaking over 30k HP seems like how I'd want to at least take the character. After that, you have your choice for what to play on him for an artifact. Stark's artifact is Jumbo Berry Special, which is a fine artifact because it gives up to 20% extra damage from all single target sources, which Stark is. That's a really rare effect, by the way, in Epic 7. It's usually some kind of conditional effect to get 20% extra damage, like it's tied to the target's HP, or they gotta have like some kind of debuff or something. This is just straight up, hey, as long as you're single target attacking, you get 20% extra damage, which is nice. That said, I don't necessarily think it's Stark's best artifact choice. I feel like that's going to probably be Golden Rose because it gives some damage as well as sustain, which is something he's really going to want. And it's really, really good in general with characters that have the counter set. They hit you, you hit them back, you heal up, you get bonus damage. It's just a win-win. Overall, I think Stark is a really unique and fun free unit for the collab. He is super simple and not really overly flashy, so I feel like a lot of people are just going to end up overlooking him. The simplicity and obvious counters he has makes me think he also won't be setting the world on fire and might end up as just a bench warmer. That said, I still want to try him out because I think that the matches where he actually shines, he's going to be an absolute blast to play. The fact that he synergizes well with the rest of the Frieren cast is just a bonus. And those are my thoughts on Stark. But now I want to hear from you. Let me know how you feel about Stark in the comments section below. And don't forget to check out my other first thoughts and initial impressions videos on both Frieren and Fern, linked below the like button. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later now.